Take a close look at this infant. Notice the soft features, the gentle eyes, the innocence that radiates from his face. You would naturally imagine a bright future for this child, perhaps growing up to become a compassionate doctor or an honest, hard-working man. But history had a much darker plan. This is not the story of a hero. This is the origin story of Adolf Hitler. To truly understand the son, we must first inspect the father. Alois Hitler was born out of wedlock in a small Austrian village. He eventually became a mid-level customs officer, a man who wasn't exactly wealthy, but he certainly lived a life full of chaos and scandal. Alois had a wandering eye. He married a wealthy older woman for her money, but immediately began multiple affairs. After she passed away, he married his mistress. And when she tragically died, he turned to his much younger housekeeper, his own cousin, Clara. The beginning of their marriage was marked by death. Clara gave birth to 3 children, all of whom died in infancy. So, when the 4th child, Adolf, survived, Clara was overcome with relief. She didn't just love him, she suffocated him with affection. But while his mother coddled him, his father terrorized him. Alois was a cold, short-tempered man who believed in brutal discipline. After Adolf's older brother ran away to escape the abuse, the 7-year-old Adolf became the sole target of his father's rage. This abuse created a rebel. In his early school years, Adolf was bright and charismatic. He loved reading stories about the American West, cowboys and Indians, and he would organize the other children into elaborate war games. But as he entered his teenage years, he decided to wage a personal war against his father. He began to fail his classes on purpose. He was caught smoking, he pulled pranks, and most importantly, he rejected his father's loyalty to Austria. Instead, Adolf became obsessed with German nationalism. He dreamt of a unified Germanic people, an idea that drove his Austrian father absolutely insane. It was a household constantly at war. Then, the darkness truly set in. When Adolf was just 10 years old, his younger brother Edmund died of measles. This loss broke something inside him. The energetic boy vanished, replaced by a sullen, withdrawn ghost. Neighbors reported strange behaviors. He would talk to trees. He would climb cemetery walls at night to stare at the stars. He completely detached from reality. When his father demanded he join the civil service, Adolf snapped back, "No, father, I will be an artist." The conflict ended only when his father suddenly died. You might think this would set him free, but instead, Adolf drifted. He dropped out of school without graduating. He spent his days in the opera house, living in a fantasy world of grandeur. At 18, he left for Vienna, confident he would become a master painter. The Academy of Fine Arts rejected him, not once, but twice. Then his mother passed away. The doctor later said he had never seen a young man so completely overcome with grief. Alone, broke, and unskilled, the future dictator hit rock bottom. He lived in homeless shelters, slept on park benches, ate at soup kitchens. He survived only by painting cheap postcards for tourists. But Vienna gave him something else: hatred. The city was a hotbed of anti-Semitism and political extremism. Adolf began reading cheap conspiracy pamphlets. He started to believe that his failure wasn't his fault, but the fault of a so-called racial enemy. The toxic ideology slowly took root in his mind. Then, in 1914, salvation came in the form of war. While the world wept, Hitler celebrated. World War I had begun. He volunteered immediately. The army gave him a uniform, a gun, and for the first time in his life, a purpose. He proved to be a brave soldier, surviving nearly 4 years of unimaginable hell. But in 1918, while recovering from a gas attack in a hospital bed, the news arrived. Germany had surrendered. He couldn't accept it. Instead, he convinced himself of a lie, that the army had not lost the war, but had been betrayed from within. In that hospital room, the artist finally died, and the monster was born. With total power in his hands, Hitler turned his eyes to the world. He secretly began rebuilding the army, breaking the peace treaties of World War I. Factories churned out tanks, planes, and bullets. The world leaders watched, terrified of another war, so they did nothing. They hoped that if they let him have a little, he would stop. They were wrong. He took Austria without firing a shot. He took parts of Czechoslovakia. His appetite for power was endless. He didn't want peace, he wanted an empire. On September 1st, 1939, the lies ended. Hitler invaded Poland. Britain and France had no choice but to declare war. World War II had begun. Using a new tactic called blitzkrieg, or lightning war, the Nazis were unstoppable. Poland fell in weeks. Denmark, Norway, Belgium, Holland, and finally the mighty France collapsed in just 6 weeks. It seemed like he had won, but his ego was his greatest enemy. In 1941, he made a fatal mistake. He betrayed his pact with the Soviet Union and invaded Russia. He thought he could conquer the East before winter. He was wrong. While the war raged on the front lines, a darker, silent war was happening in the shadows. Hitler's obsession with racial purity turned into industrial mass murder. Millions of Jewish people, along with Roma, disabled people, and political enemies were rounded up and sent to camps. It was a crime so horrific, humanity had no name for it. It was the systematic extermination of human beings. The Holocaust remains the darkest stain on human history. By 1942, the world had united against him. The Americans, the British, and the Soviets began to squeeze the Nazi Empire. In the freezing ruins of Stalingrad, his entire Sixth Army was destroyed. In the deserts of Africa, he was pushed back. Then, on June 6, 1944, D-Day, the Allies stormed the beaches of France. The liberation of Europe had begun. Hitler's 1,000-year Reich was crumbling around him. By April 1945, the Soviet army was in Berlin. The city was a burning ruin. Hitler, now a trembling, broken man, hid in a concrete bunker beneath the ground. He blamed everyone but himself. He refused to surrender, dragging his country down with him until the very end. On April 30th, as enemy troops were just blocks away, Adolf Hitler took his own life. The man who wanted to rule the world died in a hole in the ground. Days later, Germany surrendered. The nightmare was finally over, but the scars he left on the world remain to this day. His story serves as a terrifying warning that evil doesn't always look like a monster. Sometimes it starts as a neglected child, a failed artist, and a man who is given too much power.